What's going on, hikers? In today's video, we're going to talk about how my Altra Lone Peak 4s performed on my thru hike. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jeremiah Stringer, and here we talk about all things hiking and backpacking. We do info, tips, hacks, and we explore. So if you're into that, make sure you subscribe below. I just got back from thru hiking the Vermont Long Trail. Now, the Vermont Long Trail is the trail that inspired the Appalachian Trail. It's approximately 273 miles long, and it took me 23 days if you count the 0 days or non-hiking days that I took while I was there. The whole time I used the Altra Lone Peak 4s, and I actually had a pair of Ultras that are the exact same except a different color that I was hiking in, and then I was like, well, I'm going to buy a new pair for this trip. I figured they would last somewhere between 400 and 500 miles. Boy, was I mistaken, because these things are destroyed. Now, I'm going to show them to you here in just a second, but the Lone Peaks, after about 100 miles, they just started like shredding out. And I was like, what in the world is going on? So let's just take a look. So the first thing that started happening is the same thing that happened on my old Ultras. This little piece that is glued down where your toes are, that started coming unglued. And this was like day 2 that this started happening. I was like, no biggie, the structure of the shoe's still good to go. All right, the next thing that happened is I got this hole right here in the side of the shoe, and I was like, whoa. We're only 100 miles into this trip. I literally put these shoes on right before I went to the airport to fly to get onto the trail. Like, what's going on here, Ultra? So I kept wearing them, and then the next thing that happened, this hole got bigger, of course, and I got another hole. Same place on the other shoe, so this is the left shoe now. And of course, the toe guard or whatever right here started coming unglued as well. All right, then the worst thing happens. So I get this hole right here in my Ultras. Okay, and this hole, it's 2 holes. There's a hole here, there's a hole up here, and this straight up cut my foot. So it was connected like right here, and I didn't even know, and I was wearing just, darn tough socks. That was the only thing between my foot and this little tab here that hadn't yet ripped. And it started sawing at my foot. So I walked for 15, 20 miles that day, and this thing's just, and I didn't even notice, I'm pounding away at the miles. So I get to camp, take my shoes off. If you don't know about the Vermont Long Trail, it's so muddy. So I don't pay a whole lot of attention. My feet are super dirty, and I try to clean them up the best I can, but there's just not a whole lot you can do. So I go to sleep that night. I get up the next day, and I don't pay much attention to it because I haven't really gotten many blisters to this point. The shoes are doing okay blister-wise. So I put my socks on, I go hike, and I'm probably making a quarter of a mile in, and I was like, man, my toe, what's the deal with my pinky toe? So I take my shoes off and I look, and it's like deep gash cut in with a flap of skin, like the first layer of skin just kind of flapping there. I know, pretty gross. So I tape it up, and I start checking out the shoe, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this little piece here has been sawing at my foot all day yesterday, and we put in all these miles, and I didn't even realize it at the time. So at this point, I went to every outfitter on our resupplies, and none of them have size 15, right? Because I have these giant feet. And my choices are 1, finish the trip with the shoes I have, which is what I ended up doing. Or 2, express ship myself some shoes, even though we're only around, 100 miles from finishing. And then I'll have to go to the next town and make sure I'm there when the post office is open. So I was like, well, it's going to be really expensive to buy another pair of shoes on the trail and express ship them to myself. So I'll just finish in these, and that's what I've done. The most comical part about this whole thing is I'm wearing Ultra gaiters on top, where your ankle goes in, so sticks and stuff doesn't get in your shoes. And through the holes, I'm walking through all this mud, and I keep having to pull out rocks and sticks. At one point, there is a stick sticking into my shoe, like I'm walking and I'm like, what is that? And I look down and there's a stick like sticking out of my shoe and I'm walking with it. You would think maybe that pair of shoes just has a defect. I'm thinking maybe the same thing, because there were 3 people in our group, and at one point our group, like our trail family, was up to 9 people, and 3 of us had Altra Lone Peaks, and all 3 of ours blew out in the exact same spot. And Route 9, this was this girl's trail name, she actually express shipped herself a pair of Ultra Olympuses, I think. And then Frodo, who is another guy that had a pair of Ultra Lone Peaks, he actually finished the trail in his Lone Peaks. I did make it to one outfitter that had a size 14, and they were 14s in Keens, and they were waterproof boots. And if you don't know a whole lot about Vermont, or as some people like to call it, Vermud, that trail is so muddy. Like now I don't even care about like getting wet feet in mud. I'll let them air out at lunch. I'll let them air out whenever I get to camp in the afternoon and wear my camp shoes. And then the next day, guess what? I'm putting on some soaking wet shoes again. My apologies, typically I'm not one to really complain, but if my shoes are only getting me 100 miles, I'm going to have to do something different. And that's where the question of the day comes in. Question of the day, what alternative do you have for me? And I'm a trail runner guy. So what trail runner brand and what shoes? Comment that below and let me know what you would suggest me trying out. If you want to check out another one of my videos, you can find it right here, or you could subscribe right over here. I hope you enjoyed. If you want more info, tips, hacks, and exploring, then make sure you subscribe below and kick that notification bell for the latest notifications. Smash that like button. I'm out.